I want to start by saying that there are levels of excitement from me on this game as well. Now, I want to start with that because otherwise I think that this is going to come across like Jay's talking about Star Wars. He's hating on it again. That is not my goal here.
He's complaining again.
No, that's not my goal here. That is not my goal. If this game is handled well, I'm very excited for it, but I want to outline why I'm actually kind of worried about the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. Jill's here with me today.
Hello.
And if you enjoy what we have to say, or, even if you don't, you want to have a conversation, let us know what you think in the comments down below. That is always appreciated. Let's hop into it. Be sure to like and subscribe and all those good things as always. Now, when it comes to Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, this game was one of my personal favorite Star Wars games ever made, along with its sequel, Knights of the Old Republic 2. It's one that I replayed dozens of times, I loved Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I love Knights of the Old Republic 2, especially when that game is restored with, I believe it's called the Sith Lords Restored mod, where they added back in the cut content. They did some amazing, unique, and, mature storytelling in those games, but the thing with this remake is that this game already existed in canon and was weirdly yanked out of canon by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
When Disney acquired the license and the rights to Star Wars, when they bought it from George Lucas, they came in and they decanonized pretty much all of the expanded universe. The stuff that they left was Clone Wars, the show, and they left the movies 1 through 6. That's basically it, not much else. They could have I don't know why they didn't go through and cherry pick. There could have been plenty of stuff that was kept canon and that would have added to the lore, like Knights of the Old Republic. This is set 4,000 years before the movies. There's no reason this wouldn't work.
I think, to be honest, they didn't want to have to, A, bother with going through the content, and B, they didn't want to have to bother with the fact that they want to make their own stuff now, and they don't want to have to look back on the old stuff and have inconsistencies with their new work, so they just decided the easy way out is to decanonize everything so we can start fresh and make something new, and Disney kidify it. Because that's what they like to do.
My issue with that, though, is that if they already didn't want to bother with it, why do I care that they're bothering with it now?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's the issue.
That doesn't really inspire a lot of faith to me, that Disney wanted to get rid of Knights of the Old Republic originally. And most other remakes didn't have to deal with their original work being decanonized. I understand that there have been different remakes retold by a lot of different people over the years. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Shadow of the Colossus, Spyro, Crash. These games were remade from the ground up, not just remastered, but even Demon's Souls. Nobody came in and said, but the original's not canon, screw the original, just let's blast it. You know what I mean? Let's shoot it out in airlock and then we'll come back to it. It was just, oh yeah, you love Demon's Souls. Let's make it again. Let's do it again. Let's fix some problems with it. I like that approach. The thing with Disney, though, is they have a track record with Star Wars of pissing off a lot of the fans, sometimes rightfully, sometimes not rightfully, and going back to things that they threw out of the canon like this to simplify their ability to tell new stories, like you said, and then just remake them and resell them for a profit again. Grand Admiral Thrawn was thrown into Rebels instead of being in the Thrawn trilogy, which he was originally in with Timothy Zahn in the books. There were decades of stories that Disney just chucked out like willy-nilly, and they threw under the Legends banner where they said, oh, well, it's an in-universe story. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. Who knows?
Yeah.
And now they're going back and they're just pulling those elements out to resell them.
Yeah, and they wanted to have a new idea, but also reuse it.
Yes.
So they didn't have to think of anything new.
Can I point out, by the way, Jill, they still sell all these things. They sell those old books. They put they reprinted them, put the Legends banner on them, and resell them. And there's been a lot of accusations of even the original writers of some of these things not getting some of the royalties they are owed and having to fight Disney on it.
That is so messed up.
Yeah, it's really screwed up. And they also still sell these games that they decanonize. Things like Republic Commando, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, all this stuff. They still sell them and profit off of them. They just didn't think it was worth the effort, in my opinion, to keep it canon, like you said. And they've also been recently censoring things like Boba Fett's ship being renamed to the Fire Spray, which people fought me on, saying that wouldn't happen. It was just for a Lego set. They've now put it in comics, too.
Yep.
It did happen.
Yeah, because they're afraid of the word slave. It's I don't understand why they're afraid of said word. Like, we don't have to get into that too much, but it's just kind of odd to me.
There is slavery in Star Wars, and it has nothing to do with African American people.
No, and there's also slavery in the world that doesn't have to do with African American people either. It's not, it's not supposed to be a thing that's just against one race.
Like a racial term?
No, it's just a thing that's terrible and happens, kind of like, you know, other crimes that happen.
What's ironic to me is that also with that level of hypocrisy, we're talking about a company that filmed Mulan near concentration camps where there is actual slave labor in China, but they're not willing to call Boba Fett's ship the Slave One.
Yeah.
But one thing that they did say with this game is that they wanted to go back as the hardware advanced and game-making prowess advanced, which I agree with. That's awesome. You know, that's how you go back and you fix up some issues with an original game. But they also said as storytelling techniques advanced for gaming, which to me was kind of weird because the reason that this game sits at 93 on Metacritic is people loved the storytelling the way it was. I don't know if it really needed to advance in any way. I guess to me, kind of even bringing that up is a little troubling because they already said that they're going to stay true to the story, which I hope is true. Mm-hmm. But then why talk about advancing storytelling techniques and things like this? I don't, what is the point of that when that's the most renowned part of the original? I love the turn-based combat type stuff. I love building your own character. People love that stuff. But at the end of the day, people connected with like the story of Revan and Bastila and all these characters and Karth. They didn't connect. They didn't need it to advance.
And we already know they're probably getting rid of the turn-based combat because every single remake of a game that had turn-based combat in the original, they get rid of it.
That's something I didn't even think of, but that is very frustrating if so.
It's really annoying because I really like turn-based combat. I think it's really fun. And I think it's really different. But for some reason, all of the new technical hardware says, oh, well, let's make it more modern and not have turn-based.
Because their idea is that younger gamers don't have time or patience for turn-based combat and think it's boring.
Yeah, but that's dumb. Because a lot of people like thinking things out and like being strategic. They don't want to just have to mash X.
Also, why do people think XCOM is still popular? You know, XCOM is based around these ideas. I understand that some other franchises have gone away from them, but I don't think that ditching turn-based combat's the way to go.
No, I don't think so either.
I'm not sure if they're going to do that, but I really hope they won't, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
To be honest, that's a whole nother video. We could go on a rant for that.
Yeah, but I really hope that's not happening. I guess for me, Jill, do you have anything to say about the canon and the I guess, gameplay before I get into this final point? Because I think what I'm going to get into is going to be the most divisive part of the video. That's why I kind of saved it.
I don't know. I feel like they shouldn't go changing the story too drastically. I mean, if they want to change one thing here or there for whatever reason, they're probably going to. I just hope that it keeps the sanctity of the original thing and that it keeps people happy. Dude, I am so sick of Disney kidifying everything. You know what Disney does? They take things that were made for adults, and then they decanonize them, and then they remake them, and they make them PG. Instead of, you know, what they would have originally been. Because they're afraid of getting rid of that younger audience and not letting them buy their product. But in doing that, it makes the adult fans annoyed and sick of being treated like a child all the time and not being able to be fed these adult concepts in any good way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the original Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, at the risk of sounding slightly political in some way, they were very political games in some ways. Like, they were very focused on power dynamics and things like right and wrong and moral gray areas. Like, for example, where the thing with the Sith in these games, and that's why it's maturely written, is they are not just straight up evil. In general. They are, but the thing with Revan that makes him interesting in terms of a villain is that he became a Sith because of external factors outside of himself in order to also protect the galaxy at the same time. A lot of times with Sith we see power-hungry, psychopaths who become a Sith to sort of control everything. Revan was almost the opposite, where he still had positive motivations beneath the evil exterior and the ruthlessness of the character. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of different layers to these characters. There's also things like in Knights of the Old Republic 2, which is probably one of the darkest stories told in Star Wars ever, and probably the most mature. There's a lot of different things with that as well in terms of relationships and power dynamics, and if the Jedi are really right. My TLDR of all of that is these are very complex stories that I don't know if I have faith in a Disney-owned Star Wars to be able to tell super well. They did with Mandalorian, and I totally get that. Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, these are some of the people who can still do it with things like Mandalorian or Clone Wars. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but more often than not, the ball is dropped.
And they're still able to tell, for the most part, mature and good stories in, like, the Marvel Universe, which Disney also owns. Like, for example, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was really good. Yeah,
it actually was really good. I was slightly worried about elements of that, and they handled it very well.
The thing I'm worried about with this game is I know you're going to talk about her soon, but I was just going to mention her already. The Sam Maggs girl, like, working on it, she seems like she has a lot of ideals against what she calls the patriarchy and hating men, and is hating what I think would be, like, power dynamics between men. So if she has anything to say about the story, I feel like she's going to try and change it drastically, and make it more of a liberal kind of take and more of like a feminist based thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that it's hard to talk about and not hit the nail on the head because this is a very left-leaning person. I would feel very much, by the way, the same way if someone came in, like, if they got like Donald Trump Jr. to come in and write this story. I don't think we need that.
Yeah, extremes on both sides are very troubling.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is, like, I just don't think that we need that. Like, even if you agree with Donald Trump Jr. or you agree with Sam Maggs on a lot of stuff, that's your prerogative, and I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but I think that once you start, when your entire mindset is sort of focused on just political things or power dynamics or group dynamics and racial things, and that's basically all you talk about all day, every day on Twitter, it's kind of then odd to see you getting really interested in writing this story, and I'm supposed to expect that you're not going to drag a bunch of your personal baggage into it.
Yeah.
Everybody who writes stories has baggage, and everyone who writes stories has ideals, but usually they balance each other out. And a good example of this is Star Trek, classic Star Trek, The Next Generation, very liberal in a lot of ways, but they always make good points. You know what I mean? Like, you could be a hardcore conservative watching Star Trek, The Next Generation, and they would make good points that make you think and make you reevaluate how you're thinking about something.
That's what good storytelling is.
Correct.
They also don't tell you what you have to believe. They impose a question and tell you to think about it and make your own decision. That's what good story writing is. It's something that imposes a question on you and makes you think about your own ideals and your own life and think about possibly wanting to make a change to better yourself.
Oh man, the amount of Star Trek The Next Generation episodes that do that alone, and that's Star Trek, not Star Wars, but the amount of them that do that, things like the Drumhead, it's crazy, you know, how much they can make you think. And that's the kind of storytelling I want. That's what I saw out of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if Sam Maggs is capable of that. I think let's put aside these other things, the fact that BioWare was originally, you know, behind the game and now it's Aspire and Lucasfilm Games or whatever. You know, you can definitely be worried about that as well, but Bluepoint has come in with things like Demon Souls and redone it, and I literally would have believed From Software made that if they hadn't put Bluepoint on it. So that's fine. Worrisome sometimes, but fine. But when it comes to someone like Sam Maggs, I don't want her to not have a job.
No.
But when I see some of the stuff that she said in the past, it's very concerning. I think it's worth rolling and showing this clip that she was one of the people involved in all the Gamergate stuff back in the day, which was way before my time on YouTube. Before I mattered at all in any way, talking about how characters can be virtually penetrated on Grand Theft Auto and how it is a triggering and traumatizing experience and all this crazy stuff.
It's a frightening and disgusting trend in the world of online gaming. Hackers rewriting code to simulate sexual assault.
Online, they can take your character, lock them in place, have made their character pantsless, and then can simulate sexual assault with your character, and you are helpless to stop it.
The graphics are so good, this attack is eerily realistic, but this is virtual rape. Hackers rewriting codes and hijacking online video games like Zombie Apocalypse and Grand Theft Auto.
And should not be allowed anywhere. Like, they should be banned off the servers immediately.
And Sam Meggs, an avid gamer and blogger, tells me in some cases these hackers, also known as modders for modifying the game, will talk to victims on their headsets during the attacks.
When you can hear the person on the other end who's saying these things directly to you, and they're saying them directly to you, that's a whole other level of harassment, really.
Sam Meggs stopped playing online over a year ago because of what she calls a misogynistic mentality that already exists in the world of gaming. And she says these new rape scenes only illuminate that.
It's violating, it's triggering for people who have survived assault in the past. It's a visual representation of all that terrible verbal stuff that you get as a woman online.
Like, by the way, for all you kids out there, first of all,
Jill, kids don't watch our channel. I don't want to get hit with COPPA.
I'm pretty sure kids watch our channel.
But it's directed at teenagers and adults.
Okay, teenagers and adults who are watching this channel who have not been raised correctly by your parents. First of all, you probably shouldn't be talking to strangers online. Second of all, if anything like that ever happens to you in a game because of a hacker or something, there's this button that's on your screens. It's like a circle with like a line in it. It means on and off. You can press it.
There's also a cord in the wall. I found that when you pull the cord on a PlayStation or Xbox or computer, it shuts off.
And you need to take into consideration the fact that there are bad people in this world. There's always going to be bad people in this world who use things for evil, no matter what, even if it's just a game. And you have to try and remember that you're a good person.
Well, and I'd argue most of the people doing, because we did show that news clip, part of it here, I'm sure. Part of the thing with that, too, is it's people trying to get a rise out of you and troll you.
Yeah.
I don't think these are, like, angry, like, uh-oh touchers in real life. Like, these aren't people who would corner a woman in an alley and then assault her. These are people who are trying to like piss people off and like have a laugh. And
you shouldn't give them that power.
No, absolutely not. Sam Meggs, though, is the type of person who gives everyone offensive in any way a platform.
Which is wrong.
They all live rent-free in her head. It's freezing, but hating the patriarchy keeps me warm. This comment implying Luke Skywalker was a Gary Sue. Some of the worst professional experiences I've had involved white women with internalized misogyny doing the work of the patriarchy.
Which, like,
That's you, Jill.
That one in particular is kind of offensive to me, because, like, why am I not allowed to have a different opinion than you? Like, why do I have internalized misogyny all of a sudden? Or, for a couple of weeks ago video, why do I all of a sudden have internalized biphobia? Just because I have a different opinion than somebody. Why? I don't understand why I have all of these internalized things just because I have different opinions and I want to talk about them.
I think that people like Sam don't care, like, about what you just had to say or about what I have to say.
All she wants to do is call people names. That's it.
Correct. Yeah, like, she doesn't want to label them correctly. Even if someone is hateful, it's easier to try and spin them as a coward, like they're a phobe or they're a whatever, instead of educate them on something or talk to them or have a conversation. There are things that she said that I don't care about that other people do, like Knights of the Old Republic not being her favorite Star Wars game or whatever. I don't care.
That's not a big deal as long as she's a fan of Star Wars and wants to preserve the sanctity of the game.
Yeah, Republic Commando is not my favorite Star Wars game. Literally, Knights of the Old Republic is. Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, and then Republic Commando, and then the Battlefront
But
games.
if they asked you to work on that, you'd probably say yes.
Yeah, and I don't, like, not love it. It's just that I love something slightly more. Who cares that it's not her favorite? I don't care about that. But what I care about is just these constant takes where she's always angry all the time. Things like posting a picture of a shirt where it says Star Wars is for everyone, which all you have to do is do that. I agree with you. Star Wars is for everyone. But then her whole like post above it is, my aesthetic is die mad about it. It's like, how angry are you?
Yeah,
like, you're this hateful.
Why are you angry at so many people who don't even really exist or talk to you? Can you see in any of her replies people being like, oh, well, Star Wars isn't for you? I mean, maybe there's like one or two.
It's mostly people mocking her like insanely one-way leaning biased tweets.
Yeah.
I would say. You know, and she also goes on, the biggest disappointments at studios are not the misogynists, but rather the good people in a place of privilege who refuse to risk their own jobs by standing up for their marginalized colleagues. It must be nice to have that choice. We don't.
But like, here's the thing. She's a white woman. She's a white woman who's with a male partner.
Or at least was at one point from that tweet.
Because she mentions it. So she's either bisexual or pansexual or some other...
She is bi.
Not only does that make her a lot like me, where she is I don't like the word privilege, but a privileged white woman in a relationship with a man that the world supports
Well, you're just using her language, Jill.
It's just like she's acting like she is a marginalized colleague when she's not.
I think she thinks she is because of the patriarchy, although I would say that if you are really this beacon of hope white savior that you claim to be, you probably shouldn't be talking about amplifying black voices, but then in a, similarly minded tweet later, talking about how oppressed you are as a white woman. Look, I think that white people can go through racism and all kinds of stuff. That in and of itself is sadly a polarizing statement where, like, I think if you grow up in a black neighborhood and you're white and you're the only white guy, you're the only one, let's just say hypothetically, you can bet your ass there's going to be some discrimination against you because you're the only thing that's different.
I also wanted to clarify that I wasn't saying that you can't be bi and be in, like, a straight relationship, sort of.
No one thought you were. I also wasn't saying that there aren't people who hate bisexual people.
I was mostly just trying to say that she is in a relationship that majority of the world accepts, whereas a lot of the world still doesn't accept, like, women-on-women relationships and things like that. And that would be considered a marginalized group.
Constant tweets about Trump, by the way. Trump lives in this woman's head rent-free.
Yeah, but she uses the emoji of an orange because she's too afraid to have the word Trump in her tweets because she doesn't want Trump people to search up her tweets and be able to talk back to her because she's afraid of hearing a different opinion.
Right, it's a cowardly tactic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. And it's supposed to be offensive. I always thought the orange or the Cheeto thing was really funny. The thing with all of this that I was getting to is that this is someone where ideology is just constantly rent-free in her head. But this person is just constantly thinking about this stuff.
And the thing is, this person seems like the type of person who, if you disagree with her, you are dead to her. Whereas, like, you and I disagree sometimes on certain things. And you're dead to me. But at the end of the day, we still hang out together and love each other and talk to each other about it and change each other's minds sometimes with facts. And I don't understand the immaturity levels of people who aren't able to do that and aren't able to have those adult conversations. And I'm not trying to be mean, but she seems like the type of person who cannot have an adult conversation with you without getting offended or calling you names. And it just kind of seems very sad. And I don't necessarily think she's somebody with the intelligence level or the mental capacity.
I would say maturity level.
Or the maturity level to be on this.
Right, because to me she seems intelligent enough that she can use big words.
Yeah, but she also kind of seems like she doesn't understand some of these words either. I think she's got a lot of problems in her brain. If that makes sense.
Like you think that this...
I think she needs therapy.
Your opinion is that this is what mental illness looks like.
Yes.
Mental illness.
This woman seems like she should be heading to her counselor.
If nothing else, she is constantly angry, and I don't know if having this person attached to the game is a good look.
It's just, she has a lot of anger issues, and I don't think we want that spread into our video game where we're trying to escape real life rather than be in it again.
If it's Donald Trump Jr. getting called in to write this game too, or help with rewriting this game, I'm good. You don't need to. You know what I'm saying?
Because we don't want his takes in it either.
It's the same thing where it's just like, look, this game was good because of how it was written before. I don't think bringing in ideologues to rewrite parts of it is a good idea.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, they can never take the original Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic from me. Mm-hmm. I could be banned off of Steam and lose my PC copy of it. I still have it on Xbox, hard copy. So, like, I always have this original game. It's more just I'm not excited because of this, and I want to be proven wrong. Mm-hmm. I want this to come out and be amazing. Again, this is one of my favorite games of all time, but with things like new people working on it, especially Sam Maggs, things like how Disney has handled their canon and continuity in the past, it's hard for me to get excited about this game looking at all of this combined. I don't hate this person. I've never talked to them. I was very surprised to not be pre-blocked when I clicked on her because a lot of people are now getting the idea that I'm like alt-right or something because I didn't hate Jordan Peterson, because I was kind of questioning the Gina Carano thing. I literally didn't even fully side with her. I just questioned like the firing and because of not loving Tim Drake. Like those three, a Tim Drake story. Those three things together have, like, for some reason, given some people the idea that I'm, like, ultra right-wing. Though,
you know, the thing is, you also have some liberal ideas, too. It's not like you're completely, like, an extreme right person.
I don't even want to talk about that here.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's like, you've also had videos where you've been very on the left about certain things too, and some people have been like, oh, Degenerate is becoming a liberal, we're leaving.
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is, like, at the end of the day, a lot of people are so polarized. They treat their politicians like gods and their beliefs like a cult on both sides of the political spectrum.
It's just weird.
You can't have a conversation with them. And my issue with Sam Maggs is that's how she comes off to me. I have the same issue with people on the right that are that way too.
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot have a mature adult conversation with someone else without calling them names, getting super angry and pressed at them, and you have to like walk away triggered or whatever, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you need therapy. Like you need to talk to someone, you need to work on your anger issues, you need to figure out, why can't I have adult conversations with adults? What's wrong with
Without
me?
yelling at them.
You need to work on yourself, no matter what you believe in with that. My issue with Sam Maggs is that's what I think, that this is a person who, instead of working on themselves, has been constantly enabled to be almost an extremist ideologue.
Which isn't a good thing.
And it's been encouraged and enabled, and now they're getting rewarded with a position of privilege on the Star Wars game. But, I'm sure that somehow she'll be oppressed when she's on the team. But I do think that, just to make sure that there's no confusion, and so people know that I do love and support the patriarchy, I have decided that I'm going to donate a bunch of whips to Aspire. And I'm going to not call, I was originally going to call them the Slave Ones, but now I'm going to name them the Fire Sprays. And because they will whip Sam Maggs with the fire sprays, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's above
racist.
board with Disney, it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing is frustrating. I hope this game is good, but holy cow, the people attached to it right now, yikes. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more content.
Maybe you could watch more of our Star Wars videos. They don't do the best.
We appreciate you. Have a fantastic day. As always,
everyone, stay...
Say it.
Sway!
The patriarchy probably heard you from here.
Probably.
They better get their fire sprays ready.
Mm-hmm.